Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to How Did They Do That Live October edition. The topic this month is Internet Safety Awareness Month, and just a quick reminder of what How They Do That is. How Do They Do That is not myself or the other trainer, Angela, teaching you how to do something. The spirit of How They Do That is we're taking great teaching that's happening in the classroom that happens to use technology and really uplifting that voice and those teachers so that anyone all across the district is able to see that. So, and every month we do these, and every month we have a different topic. This month is Internet Safety Month, and so as you know, in honor of that, we are talking about internet safety today, and we have three great presenters lined up for you. The first presenter is really going to go over the entire TK6 curriculum, and it's going to be Joseph Mesa, our digital curriculum coordinator. And then we're going to hear from a computer literacy teacher, Linda Farnon. And then we're going to get an example of the 912 perspective by Jamie Fredrickson as well. So I'm really excited for you guys to hear from these presenters, and I'm excited that you're all here for How Do They Do That today. So with that being said, we will go ahead and get started with our first presenter, Joseph Mesa. Joseph, go ahead and take it away.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Joseph Mesa, the Digital Curriculum Coordinator for the CIPD department. That is a new position this year, and perfect timing on that with distance learning and all of that. And my counterpart on the other side, on the IETES side, is Susan Church. So hopefully you're having a good afternoon. Happy Wednesday to you. All right. So I'm going to go over just very broadly what the background and the need for this initiative this year is. So this year we're having our first annual Internet Safety Awareness Month, and that's the month of October, but it actually is extending clear through to November 15th in order to get all the and that's why we went with Internet Safety Awareness Month. Cybersecurity sort of sounds, you know, we are hoping that this is the first annual event, and we are able to do this every year because the need for this is only going to increase with time, not decrease. So we're hoping that this is an annual event. The you know, sort of the idea or the philosophy around it is digital citizenship, and we're all familiar with that. We normally do that in the TK6 world in the month of August. We are fortunate to have computer literacy teachers at each of our 22 elementary sites to deliver instruction. So they normally do this sort of training in the month of August. From 7 to 12, we normally do the internet driver's license, or the IDL, which is now the ISTA, in the month of August. But because of sort of the way this year unfolded, we weren't able to do that. And ironically, this is the year when we needed it the most because we're on such reliance of technology, but we weren't able to do that training this year. So that's why we're doing it in October. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so the basics of it is it started in October 1st and it's going through November 15th. Each site for all our 36 sites has a lead person in charge of developing the plan and involving the stakeholders or informing the stakeholders of what we're doing, communicating that with the site administration, and just doing that overall plan. For the elementary side of things, the computer literacy teachers stepped up to be that lead person. For 712, it just depends site by site who was the lead person. For the elementary district, the CLTs are the ones who are actually doing the presenting. At the minimum, all students will have the opportunity to participate in at least one live lesson or presentation. And it looks different at every site. Every plan looks different at every site. Some sites are doing their presentation more in a lesson format, and they're doing it in each one of the homeroom teachers' Schoology course straight out of the homeroom. For some sites, they're having to combine students at grade levels, so a group from this class and a group from this class are combining in a Teams meeting, and that's the way they're seeing them. So it's a little bit different whether they're using Schoology conferences or they're using Microsoft Teams or they're presenting their material from the Schoology platform or they're using another platform. So the plan does look a little bit different at every single site. And after that minimum, they are required, or we are, providing some extension activities after the presentation. And again, each site has a different plan for what that looks like. You may wonder, okay, so what is an extension activity? Well, an extension activity could look like a Nearpod posted directly into a Schoology course in a student self-paced mode, or it could be some additional videos like a YouTube video around digital citizenship with a question prompt, or if you were really advanced, you could be doing something in Edpuzzle with a video where it's going to stop at different points in the video and give students a quiz. So it does look different at different sites. Next slide, please. So the 4 goals, or the 4 main topics to present, these are the must-dos. We normally do this in computer literacy anyway. The basics of the curriculum that we have put together have these components, and one of them is passwords, 2 is online safety, 3 is showing respect online, and 4 are the rules for computer use. Some of these main topics now are part of our California computer science standards. If you're not familiar with those have been online, active, adopted since 2018. And some of those 4 main topics do exist in our California computer science standards. They also exist in the NETs, the national standards, the ISTE standards as well. And we also have district standards that those are all a part of. Next slide, please. Okay, so that's sort of the overall plan. I thought I would sort of walk you through what my live presentation looks like. This is not like standard curriculum and everybody's doing it, but I have been providing some live lessons for students, and this is what I use. I have developed a Nearpod that includes all of those elements and some activities, so I thought I'd give you a quick walkthrough of what that looks like. So that's my lead slide. Next. So I go over the agenda and then introduce passwords, and then really go over these are the 4 main things that I want you to walk away from this presentation having a greater understanding. This is all for students. This is not for adults. So next. And this presentation is, I'd say the target on this is 3rd through 6th grade. I wouldn't do this presentation. I haven't been presenting to any of the younger ones, but it really is geared more toward that intermediate 4th through 6th group. So the first piece, I talk about verbally how you might develop a secure password that you're choosing a combination of uppercase and lowercase letters, numbers, symbols. You're having different passwords for each account. You're not sharing your passwords with other people. I also talk about you aren't developing passwords for your portal, for the app portal that we have. You don't have to develop passwords for that, but students have passwords for a variety of uses, and talk about the need. You don't want the same username and password, because if somebody has your username and password for one area, they are able to guess easily what your username and password is for a different area. So I do discuss that. Then I show a short YouTube video that just reaffirms everything that I verbally covered. Then I follow up with a short 4-item quiz on what I just went over. So that's the password piece. So next piece. The next piece has 5 different safety tips for kids. So I go over what those tips are, then I show the video, and I show it 2 times, and here's why. So I show the video and I just want them to pay attention to the content, kind of get the overall gist of what the video is about. Then I show them the video again, but I give them the prompt before that I want you to really have a great memory. And whatever number 1 is, I want you to remember what the tip is for number 1, because I'm going to jumble them up and I want you to be able to put them in order. And one of the things that I have discovered over time in my career in education, 1, kids have a much better memory than I do, and young kids have phenomenal memories when they are conscious that they need to memorize something. So I show it to them 2 times to reinforce the message and to lock it in their memory. And then we play a matching game, the matching game in Nearpod, to try to align it. And, you know, we talk about results. You would be shocked how high a percentage of students can nail every single one of those when you have told them before that you want them to memorize the order. So next. The next topic is just showing respect online. Talk about the difference between bullying in general and cyberbullying. I also ask them to put it in their own words and really try to make that connection between in-person bullying and bullying online, and how much easier it is to, you know, bully online or say something that might offend someone online. So we talk about that. So next slide. So then we talk about the different pieces and the roles in cyberbullying. So almost every situation in bullying has a bully, a target, a bystander, and then hopefully an upstander, which is not always the case. So we talk about what the role of the bully is, what the target of the bully is, or who the target for the bully is, and that the bullying is in the eyes or perception of the target. It doesn't matter what the bully thinks, whether they're bullying or not. If the target perceives that it is bullying, then it is bullying. So it's not up to the bully to decide. The bystander, of course, is the person who just watches and does nothing. The upstander is the person who actually steps in and tries to remedy the situation in some way. Next. Then I show them a quick video on tips that they can, how they can be an upstander. Then again, they do a matching game for operational definitions of, those different areas. In addition to, there's a piece on empathy and what empathy looks like, what it's defined as, and some examples of empathy, which is sometimes hard for kids to see things from other people's perspective. And then there are a couple of questions on scenarios and what would be an appropriate response, and we discuss some of the answers to that. So next. And if I need to wrap it up, let me know if I'm going over on time. Then the next pieces are the rules for computer use. These are not official Modesto City School rules by any means. These are just the rules that I present to kids when I'm talking about rules for computer use. And one is using kind words on online. Say something positive, or don't use any words at all. It's fine if you think something not positive, just don't let the words come out of your mouth. Keep it to yourself. Rule number 2, taking care of computers. 3, using the computer properly. 4, following the school rules. And 5, keeping the balance. For taking care of the computer, that includes treating it with respect, making sure that it's not getting damaged, that is shut down properly each night, and charging the device. That's really important, so it's ready to use at the start of the day. That's going to be really important to continue to hit that as we're going back to live instruction. They need to come to school with their device charged every day, and then using it properly. You're using your school computer for its intended purpose, which is learning, not playing games. Number 4 is following the school rules. Understanding that when you're on a school computer, even at home in distance learning, the consequences are the same for violating rules. And I let students know we can easily track every single thing that you do online. So be aware, don't do anything on that computer that you wouldn't do if I were hovering right over your shoulder watching what you're doing, because we can track what you're doing online easily. And then the last rule is keeping the balance, taking a lot of breaks. We don't want to be staring at our computer screen for long periods of time. That's a do as I say, not as I do, because this team here that's presenting, that's all we do is stare at computer screens. And talking about what a break looks like. A break isn't swapping out one type of media for another type of media. It's getting away from media. Go get some exercise. Breathe some clean air if we had some to breathe. Get some exercise, outside safely, but, stepping away from technology. So you can move ahead. Next slide. And then after that, students, couple Nearpod activities. So I've got the drag and drop fill in the blank for them to do. And then they do another matching activity there. Next slide. And this is also, I like this presentation too, because it gives students a real cross-section of the different tools that are available in Nearpod, many of which they're using for the very first time. So they're very engaged, and it's not just to sit and listen. And then at the very end, I have a quizzes for them to do that has every single thing in the entire presentation all put into one super exciting presentation or test for them to take, and it's competitive with their peers, And if you've never used a quizzes before, I highly recommend that you use one because very high level of student engagement. And I have found through this presentation that students are really engaged in the topic, and there's enough shifts in there so they're not just watching YouTube videos, not just listening to me or just doing games, but it's check for understanding activities, but it's a good, well-paced and well-balanced mix of those things. So any questions? No one stopped me for questions in my presentation. Questions along the way. Are there any?
Hey, Joseph, I think you did a really thorough job. I didn't see any questions come in the chat. I do want to thank Joseph for his presentation. I think you did a really kind of thorough job of covering overall the lessons that you want your K-6 students to have, and then you did a great job kind of showing how you teach them those lessons. And personally, I think those are lessons that a lot of adults could use too. I know that I'm not the best about not reusing username and passwords, and I think we're all seeing the effects of not speaking kindly online right now. So I think there's some good lessons that are pretty universal in that presentation. We're going to go ahead and move on to our next presenter now, Linda Farnon. So Linda, go ahead and have you got your camera on, so we'll have you go ahead and take it away.
Okay, great. Next slide, please. So I am the computer literacy teacher at Burbank Elementary, and I have 2 slides, and then I'll move on to my Schoology course. So as Joseph was mentioning, traditionally I had several slide decks or Nearpods for each topic or grade level, and you can see in the picture here, like for 4th grade, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are like 6 different slide decks or Nearpods that you could use, all great resources. So I'm going to share with you what I decided to do this year with my digital citizenship curriculum, which was to create a handbook. And the handbooks were an idea to have one place to teach from and gather all the digital citizenship materials I was collecting, such as the lessons that you see here, games that I found different places, pretty much from Common Sense Media as well, and exit tickets. Next slide. So here's just an overview of the digital handbooks that I created. They're from the slidesmania.com, and you can use these as a Google Slides, which I did, or you can also use this digital handbook from slidesmania.com as a PowerPoint, so it's your preference. So I have 3 digital handbooks with differentiated content. So the first handbook is going to be TK through 2nd. Another handbook is for 3rd, 4th, and the last one is for 5th grade and 6th grade. And so just like Joseph mentioned before, there's 7 topics. Topic 1, 2, 3, and 7 are the 4 topics that Joseph mentioned that were a priority. So when I'm going to teach this month, my first lesson, my live lesson to my students will be number 1, digital citizenship. Number 2, passwords. 3, online safety, and then at the end of my lesson, I moved down to number 7, which is the rules for responsible use. I told my students that maybe in October, November, I could be invited back to their classroom and I could teach another lesson covering media literacy, digital footprint, and cyberbullying. All right, and now I'll go ahead and share my screen. All right, can you see my screen?
Yes. Your screen is there and we can see you. All right,
okay.
Thank you, Linda.
Okay, great. So moving on to my Schoology course, you can see that I have embedded the 3 digital handbooks into my Schoology course. Here they are. And there are many reasons why I chose to create the handbooks instead of using several slide decks or Nearpod lessons, and I'll go over that just a little bit. Number 1, I'm teaching virtually, so I thought that this would be an easy way to access the content, such as watching videos. Another reason is that in the future, when I have new students and I want them to learn about digital citizenship and go over the rules for responsible use, I will have this notebook ready to go for them. Especially sometimes I get a new student and they don't know how to create a password. They've never done that before. So I'll show the lessons where right there, the steps 1, 2, 3, 4 steps on how to create a password. So that student can go to the handbook and learn how to create a strong password, and it's something that they can access. And also, since the digital notebooks are in my Schoology page, my students can easily access the digital notebooks for reference. Even the students who are here, maybe they're not new students, but they already had the lessons. I was thinking that it would be harder for students to have to go back to a slide deck or a Nearpod lesson to reference information when they need it. So for example, they can always go back or go into the digital notebook and review how to deal with cyberbullying, for example. It's these purple tabs here. So if I go like to page 3 here. So the student, let's say when I'm teaching cyberbullying, the student might not be experiencing cyberbullying at the time. So maybe this lesson isn't as important, or they're not as focused on learning how to deal with cyberbullying. But maybe in the future it will be, and they'd want to access this information to see, well, what did Mrs. Farnan say again? How am I supposed to deal with cyberbullying? They can go ahead and go back to the information and be right at their fingertips. Another reason for creating a digital handbook and embedding them into the Schoology course would be for family reference. So students could show this digital handbook to family members who don't know how to create, for example, a strong password. I gave this lesson to a 5th grade class, and the teacher was on the lesson with me. And let me go to that. Let me expand this. The teacher was watching the video and when I showed them how to make the strong password, and the 5th grade teacher was like, I learned something today. I was running out of passwords to use for myself, and now after watching the video and listening to your lesson, now I know how to, now I have a whole plethora of passwords to use. So it really made me think that, same thing with family members, if they don't know how to create a strong password, the student who's already learned how to do it, because they could use this as a reference for family members. Go back here. Okay. Within the handbooks are on different pages. I also have all the extension activities. So if I were to go maybe to, oh, this is good. This is a good one here. The 5th, 6th handbook, and enlarge that. I have 2 different extension activities on this particular one. I have the exit tickets. I have the password protect game, and then I have the brand new website that Common Sense, I don't know, it's not actually Common Sense Media, or maybe it is, came out. It's called the Social Media Test Drive, where there's actual modules, and the students are put through real life experiences. And this one in particular is the Social Media Test Drive module on creating passwords, and there's other topics too. So I also created the handbook so that they would have easy access to different links and extensions there. So instead of creating a whole bunch of different links and assignments on my Schoology page, like an exit ticket or a game link for every single topic, the one digital notebook has all the exit tickets, has all the links. This also keeps my Schoology page kind of uncluttered and free from a lot of different links. So that's just good for me, since I teach a lot of different students. And finally, I realized at the very end, after I had done all the work, when I was building my slide decks, I was using 3 different tabs to go from one tab to the other to seeing it. Was I really differentiating content? Was I duplicating information? Was I using the same video over and over again? After I embedded these, I realized how much easier it is to have them embedded. So for example, when I was trying to figure out, let's say, I wanted everything to look uniform. By having them all embedded here, I could easily just go through here. Let me go here. It was just so much easier to edit and make sure that everything looked the same. Because sometimes I would change the font when I'm editing and creating. I would think, well, I don't really like that font, or I don't really like the way that's bulleted. It was just easier for me just to click through here and start seeing, what do I have here? So I could see, this is TK through 2nd. What does the content look like? And is it really differentiating a little bit more in-depth depth of knowledge in this one compared to this one. So it made it so much easier for me once I embedded it this way to see what are the videos here, are they progressing in the information that they're sharing. So that's another great reason if you're going to have different slide decks or PowerPoints for each grade level. Once you embed them like this, it's just so much easier to differentiate content and to just analyze and see what you're doing. I'm going to go on to some of the features. I'll go over what they look like. Okay, let me go to slide 3 here. And full screen here. So this is the first tab, digital citizenship. And digital citizenship, the topic is more of an overview of lots of different things. So digital citizenship is online safety. It is using strong passwords, knowing about media literacy. So this is kind of like the intro to a whole bunch of different things. And so always on this particular, on page 1, it always starts with an essential question. I have an attention getting image. I have the learning objectives on this side. At the top here, I have just a quick lesson overview for the teacher and for students and for families. It's just a quick overview. And then usually this is kind of unique because I wanted to, I really like this video about community. Normally I have vocabulary words, so it just depends. But normally this is a page of vocabulary words or words to know. And anything that's written kind of in this font that looks like handwriting, I use a special font and highlighting to kind of note to me that if I was in the classroom or in a setting where we could do some think, pair, share, or some maybe a CFU, that's the reason why I use this particular font. It's kind of to me like stop, ask a question, or stop, ask for some collaboration, some think, pair, share. That's kind of why I use that as for me to be able to know that. Let's see here. Page 2, let me use the second grade version here. Let me go to page 7. So I try to really make the videos also differentiated by grade level. So every page 2 of every topic has the videos at hand. My hope was to build depth of knowledge each year on the topic by starting off with simple videos and moving gradually to videos with more technical information. So here's an example of how I was able to find 4. That's kind of rare in this transitional kindergarten to second grade. Often it's just 1 or 2 videos that I can find. But as I found them, I try to make, let's say, the 3rd grade video a little bit easier to understand than the 4th grade video and so forth. Let me use the 5th grade handbook for this example, and let me move on to slide number 8. And this is an example of page 3. So I went over page 1, which was the lesson objectives, the vocabulary. Page 2 is going to be the videos. And for me, page 3 is going to be a few things. I have the lesson concepts here. I have an exit ticket if I created one, or if Common Sense Media kind of has like a, on Common Sense Media, when you're looking at their lessons, it's called lesson quiz. So I just took that lesson quiz and I created it into an exit ticket. And then there's also going to be a link to a game right here also. And on some other grade levels, like in the 2nd grade version, I might have the link to the coloring pages that they have there for digital citizenship. Or I hope maybe even to include a flip grid in the future, just some things I'm thinking about. So that's the basics of page 1, 2, and 3. So once again, the page 1 will have the essential questions, so vocabulary. Page 2 has some videos, and then page 3 has a lesson concept, exit ticket, other extension links, and some more information. And then I'll go over to something new that I created or added this year, what Joseph also talked about, which is the rules for responsible use. I'll go over this. So what I did was similar to what Joseph already had. I created one page here that has I will use digital tools with care. It talks about using your own account, not sharing your username and password, using your device for educational purposes only. And I talk about your laptops not for logging into your Minecraft or your Roblox account. I also talked about not sending or displaying offensive messages or pictures, and also not using offensive emojis to the chat boxes. So that's some rules there. And then on this page, I added using the electronic device with care, such as shutting down the computer every day. And I kind of really expand on why you need to shut down and not just log off. And we talk about updates, and this is, some students still don't know that. And then just some other rules. I say, you know, I will keep the laptop in a safe place. So I tell them, hey, if you have a little brother or sister, the table and the couch is probably not a great place to store and charge your laptop. And I go over some other rules here. This page right here, I just added a quick page just to remind the students how to show virtual meeting etiquette, which is polite behavior for a digital citizen. I have some before class, some things it could do, such as be presentable and dress for success. I mean, they shouldn't be in their pajamas, or I know there's been some cases of, you know, boys not wearing a shirt, picking a place that's quiet and comfortable to log in. So I go over that, and it has some pictures. And then on this side, I go over virtual meeting etiquette during class, some things that the students can do. This is probably a reminder. Most teachers have probably already covered this, but I thought I'd just go ahead and have it in the handbook for years to come. And then over here, something new that I added was I went ahead and added links to the student code of conduct, the board policy, offense, the consequences for not following the rules, and some other things in here too, like network etiquette, no expectation of privacy. Students are responsible for their behavior and communications when using MCS technology devices on that page. And then I just kind of end the digital notebook with just some other extra stuff that I found that was really useful that's been created by Modesto City Schools employees. So there's this one, and I added some other videos that might be kind of fun for kids to go back and watch that don't really apply to anything, but are still really good. Some more tips. And then I end with the troubleshooting and the computer license. Let me see which one I'm in right now. And I would say the only thing I forgot to say is when I'm using the vocabulary, I really try to with the second grade and with this level in the third, fourth is to try to add pictures whenever I could. So just to make sure they had kind of an idea of what to use. So if you notice, like for fifth and sixth grade, I might not have pictures of the vocabulary words, but definitely for the lower levels, I did try to include some of that. So I think that's it for me.
Great, thank you, Linda. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna go ahead and share my desktop with me. Okay, good, you're good to go. All right, go ahead, Jamie.
All right, hi everyone. I'm Jamie Fredrickson, talking about a little bit of what at least my site did at the 9-12 level about digital citizenship and internet safety. And much like Joseph mentioned, you know, this is something our students maybe don't get explicitly all the time, especially at the high school level. There's no required computer literacy class anymore. It kind of is expected to get sprinkled in everywhere else, and teachers are really crammed with curriculum. So it was really cool that my site, Davis, I think Elliott, and I think many other high schools chose some form of what I'm going to show to you today, making like an ISTA day so we could actually focus on the content more than the internet safety tutorial and agreement being something students just have to, you know, check off a box and then they move on with their day, because there is a lot of important information, like everyone said, that maybe we forget about as we get so comfortable sitting with technology. So that's me. I should have put my email on there, but I can add it at the end. But I'm Jamie Fredrickson, and I'm from Gregory High School, the library media teacher there. And for all of the content that I'm going to show you, I worked with Claire Barros, who's the library media teacher at Davis High School. And so we collaborated to get to the point that I'm going to show you today. I felt like what I had to show wasn't super exciting, but when I reflected on the process we went through, it took a lot. So hopefully maybe you'll get something from that. But the topics that are covered in the internet tutorial that students are required to do at our level, a few of the key topics are digital citizenship. We also added focusing on online learning, copyright and plagiarism, which Claire and myself are former English teachers, so that one's near and dear to our heart. And then internet safety and security. So our main goals in this were to create something that was easily shared and transferred via Schoology, because we were going to share with every teacher on campus something to be given every period on a short Wednesday. And so we wanted self-guided activities, which in some ways was sad, like seeing Joseph's live lesson where you can ask questions, read kids' responses, is really cool, but we wanted something that didn't, burden every teacher at our site and still provide something meaningful for our students. In the end, these were the programs and resources that we used. Edpuzzle, which I'll show you guys briefly, but if you don't know, it's a program where you have videos, you can annotate, stop and ask questions along the way, do checks for understanding. Nearpod, which you saw a glimpse of with Joseph's presentation. We put it all in Schoology, and we used resources a lot from Common Sense Media, like he referenced at the K-6 level. There's a lot of content there for the upper grades as well. And then we stole from our amazing MCS Ed Tech team, and some of their videos ended up in our content as well. So trying to direct students to a lot of resources that exist while assigning it to them. My quick fun fact was the Downey librarian, Julia Quinn, I believe they worked on their students completing an Edpuzzle student certification for digital citizenship. And Edpuzzle has these other little courses that you can assign students that already exist to cover topics that relate to each other. So there's some cool opportunity. Kids earn little badges to try and make it a little bit fun. So what we went through to get to our final project was a lot of trial and error, collaborated and had a lot of meetings, and we learned the power and the limits of Schoology, which many of you are probably very familiar with right now, using Schoology every day. So the first difficult lesson was that Edpuzzle assignments didn't share well in Schoology, and what I meant by that was it's great for an individual teacher to assign their Edpuzzles as it's embedded, but you can't share from there to your resources and back again. It was empty. And that also went for Nearpod, because Claire was creating Edpuzzles. I was going to use Nearpod because I love it. But we had to pivot and kind of find a way through it. So what we ended up with was a Schoology assessment for every period of the day on a short Wednesday. And these were the topics we ended up with. So digital citizenship, basically being a digital student, copyright, and then our students took the internet safety tutorial agreement in their 4th period. And then we did cover cybersecurity, even though it sounds big and scary, but we still left it in ours a little bit. And students looking at their digital footprint, and then we did an exit survey at the end. So I will show you my actual Schoology course so you can see. Oh, I will try. There we go. Okay. So this is a group in Schoology. This one's the one for my school. Other schools did a very similar thing. So in here, all of the assessments live here, and we added all of our teachers, and they were able to add it right to their course. So that was the purpose for us creating all of our content in here. So it was really easy, because Edpuzzle, Nearpod, they all have great ways within their system to share to like a site library or a district library. But the work to get it into teachers' classrooms so that students can be exposed to the material was a little bit more than fit our goals. So yeah, so I'll show you a little overview of what this looks like. If you're familiar with Schoology assessments and you use them all the time, you're just gonna say, yeah, that's great. But if not, maybe it will show you something new you can do with it. Even though it's called an assessment, these are not traditional, right, where it's here's your 30 multiple choice questions or a big performance task. But it allowed us to present information to students and hold them accountable so that teachers could use it for attendance because they saw their student signed in and how long it took them to complete it. You know, they could give them points for it if they chose, but you know, once a teacher adds it to their classroom, they could control the settings, but we provided the content. So this is an Edpuzzle that Claire created. And so we were able to embed it in the assessment so students can click play. They would answer the little questions. And the nice thing about Edpuzzle questions, if you haven't used it much before, is it will tell you right away whether you were right or wrong. And so students could get immediate feedback. And then we would ask pretty much those same questions afterwards in the assessment so that it gave them credit and they could further interact and prove they were listening. I even met with students today after we did our ISTA Day today at Grigori, and she said she was glad that we did Edpuzzles instead of YouTube because she probably would have tuned out, but the Edpuzzle made her kind of follow along and continue the video and have to think about what was happening. So it was confusing at first for some students because they wanted this to tell them they got points. But it doesn't because of how we shared it. So I'll show you guys what that looked like, just so you can see how we added it if it's something you're not familiar with. Make it a little teachable moment with the presentation. When we added materials into the assessment, you have all of the normal, rich text options. So you could add images that students analyze. But this source button right here, you can see it's really small, but those are the embed symbols. And then this tiny little line here is where you paste an embed code, which you can get on Google Forms, you can get on YouTube videos, and on the Edpuzzle. So what that looked like, defeat it. Okay, so here's one of the videos that's in my Edpuzzle account. And many teachers use Edpuzzle for like their full class. So they would click assign and they can send it to their class that their kids already joined. But Edpuzzle also has this option of public links. So students don't get a grade or a score within Edpuzzle. It's more of like an open practice exercise. And so that's what we did. And we took the embed code here from the videos, copied it, and then we stuck it right in the assessment. So it was a nice way for us to use what we made when it wasn't going to work for what our goals were. And it sounds like students were able to succeed, and having multiple small videos was easier for them than sitting and staring for a really long time. So that's the essence of what the students completed. What it looks like for them is here, since you just saw the teacher side. Oh, I can't scooch out of the way. But this is what the students saw as they moved through it. And they would answer the questions. And you'll see a lot of what I like about Nearpod, just like Joseph, is things like the drop down. There are drag and drop activities, fill in the blank. Right here you see a matching assignment. So Schoology Assessments really does have a lot of ways to make creative assignments that aren't just giving a test. So this would be one way you could flip parts of your classroom that hold student accountable while still presenting information. And say you don't want a 20-minute Edpuzzle that for your whole, lecture, you could give them a piece of info and still share it with other content, link them to an article, bring them back, things like that. So yeah, so that was the essence of our course. We had instructions for taking the ISTA, and we put it in an assessment as well. An exit survey, this was just a Google form for us to collect a little more data from our students on what they know and don't know, and some ways for us to kind of assess and move forward together and see what they're comfortable with tech and where we can kind of post targeted information and support on Schoology, since that's really becoming our hub for sharing things like tutoring and, you know, counseling assistance and where to get tech help. And it's our main outreach while we're a little disconnected from our students right now. So I may have left something out. I think that was most of what I wanted to share, but it was really cool. Kind of like Joseph said, we're hoping to do this make it an annual event. I would love that. Having my whole school take a day to cover all of these topics. I mean, I talked to a few senior students today in the last period and asked, you know, was it too boring? Was it a review? And a few said most of it was review, but they were glad they were reminded of certain things, like, you know, about how they can be tracked and the apps that they download and what permission and access they're giving to those things. The idea that seniors and juniors and people who want to go to college or get hired at jobs, that they can leave a positive digital footprint. So in this short time, under all of these limits, we were still able to give students something to think about and engage in, and take a little weight off teachers from having to design extra activities on this day. So I am hopeful. I support Joseph's statement that it should be something we try to do every year, because it was a good opportunity to cover information that maybe we miss and we assume, or it lands on teachers who may not have time to add that content. So I think that's it. I don't know if there's any questions. That's a bit of a rambler, but hopefully it shared a little bit of what we did. So thanks.
Thank you, Jamie. I didn't see any questions coming in, so I think you did a good job. So just to kind of clarify, this was what you guys did today, right? You did that today?
Yes. So Grigori did it today. Davis did it today. I'm not sure if a few other sites might have scheduled something similar on a different day. But yeah, surprisingly, I was ready for a lot of issues. And the only real issue that we had came from a few students couldn't get into the ISTA on their app portal. But teachers were able to turn everything on, enable submissions and all of that. So there were a lot of moving parts, but we tried to do great. Thanks, Priya.
So you got a nice shout out there. Well, that's an amazing training for the entire school. 2,300 students in one day. I think that's great.
Yep. Yeah.
Have you gotten any feedback? It sounds like you talked to a couple seniors. Have you gotten any feedback overall about how the students felt about it?
Not from any other kids. I mean, a few who had issues, you know, I emailed like if a thing didn't load up. But yeah, I talked to only 4 students, but they all were able to share something that they learned. And, you know, a class that had a substitute was alerted, you know, to, hey, where's our digital assignment? Because today's we're doing these digital things. So like it did become something for the students, that it was a purposeful day. So that was really cool. And Lindsay posted, yeah, that Davis, theirs went really well too. So it was, yeah, overall it seems like it was good. And I think that course would be something we would give to every freshman next year in this way, and then tailor a few things for like maybe separate upper and lower grades so kids don't get a repeat every year. So that's kind of my thinking based on student feedback. So.
Cool. Well, thank you for sharing, and here's hoping it becomes an annual thing. And one thing, maybe I wasn't a good student, but was there any mention of like evaluating news that you read online? Fake news is such a hot button issue right now.
I know, it is a missed opportunity. We didn't do a fake news, but I would like to.
Here's hoping. If this becomes an annual thing, here's hoping it's a good topic for next year, although hopefully not. Hopefully start learning some lessons about fake news.
Exactly. I had that as a hope, but I felt like 6 lessons, or I guess 5 lessons even, was a lot. So ending the day with the survey let them kind of decompress rather than cram everything in their brains till the end. But maybe this shows we could do a day like this again, you know, next semester with different information or something. So it'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be neat. Well, thank you very much.
You betcha.
And I just want to thank you all for all of our presenters. First of all, I want to thank them for all their very thorough and well thought out presentations. One final thing that I do want to go over with you is sharing my desktop here. Let me see if I can't get it to go live real quick. If you'd like access to any of the resources, if you want to go further with your own digital citizenship practice or internet safety practice, we do have a Schoology group that I believe all the teachers are a part of now. It's the Distance Learning Resources group. And within that group, in the resources, if you go into our current school year, the 2020-2021 school year, there is a folder up at the top there that says Internet Safety Awareness Month, and it's got the date on it. Within that folder, we have a ton of resources curated for you. So there's tons of subfolders within that folder. You are welcome to find any of those resources. You are free to pull those into your classes and use them with your students. So there's plenty available to you in there. I just want to take a moment to share that out. With all that being said, we are at 4:15, so I want to be respectful of everybody's time. Thank you for attending today, and I once again want to thank our lovely presenters. I loved seeing the variety of perspectives that we have all across the district. We've got, our curriculum coordinator who built this wonderful curriculum. We had a computer literacy teacher who showed us how she took that and made these wonderful digital handbooks, and then we saw how the librarians really helped their school sites just do a whole day all about this really important topic. So thank you again for all the presenters. Again, that attendance link was posted, so we'll go ahead and wrap this session up now. But thank you all, and we look forward to seeing you next month. The topic for next month is coding across the curriculum. So computer coding can be a very intimidating thing for all of us, but there are really neat ways to just start at the ground level and integrate it with your curriculum. There's some really fun activities that we'll be highlighting, so definitely mark your calendars for that one. That's in November. It is in the PD catalog, so you can register now. So thank you, and we hope to see you next month. Have a great afternoon.